Hello, climbers, and welcome to Season 4 of Climbing Mount CMMC. Hello, climbers, and welcome back to another episode of Climbing Mount CMMC, the podcast. My name is Kaleigh Floyd, and this is Bobby Guerra, and we are a part of a company called Axiom that is a CMMC Level 2 certified MSP. And we are very excited today to talk about 2026. Wowie, we're here.
It's here.
We're in a new year, and it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be lit. Can I say that? I don't know. I'm too old to know.
Cut that.
I'm not sure what I can and can't say nowadays. So I feel like I'm walking on a landmine field.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I don't know terms anymore. So now it's really getting crazy out here when I'm starting to not be young anymore.
I'll come on this side.
Yeah. Well, what we're going to talk about today are our predictions, or just things that we feel like are very important to keep in focus to some companies that are in this space, whether you are a contractor yourself, whether you are helping contractors through this space. This year is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah. For sure.
For those of you who do not know what has happened recently, 38 CFR has dropped, and last year in 2025, it is now able to push, CMMC Level 2 requirements and Level 1 requirements into contracts. And you're going to actually start, if you haven't already, seeing these requirements flow down to you, whether that is from a prime contractor to you as a sub, or in contract requirements that you're bidding on. And that is going to bring some chaos.
As an MSP, they might then go to you and go, hey,
by the way,
we told you we had a lot of time. We don't. How fast can you get us ready? And you're like,
yeah. And then you're going to say, well, when do you need it by? And they're going to be like, well, we're bidding on this contract now that says we need it. So today, what do you think? And this is going to be an interesting year because of it. And so Bobby wrote out some of these things, and I'm really excited to go through them and get his perspective on it, especially being a business owner that is going through this with multiple different clients that need these requirements. And so let's talk about the first one.
Well, let's preface this. This isn't
go ahead, preface.
No guarantee here that what I'm saying is.
Oh, you're not claiming CMMC
No,
Jesus
I'm not CMMC Jesus here.
Yes, thank you for the clarity.
Whoa, chill, But I am thinking a lot of these are going to come true either this year or next year. I could be wrong. It could be various levels of correct. So I'm going to take weatherman type predictions here, right? So either way, I'm going to be good because of.
Well, that's the DOD. That's how the DOD did it too.
I love it. I'm going to take a chapter out of their book.
Yeah, whether they put them in now or they put them in later, they're both right.
And I'd like to. And part of the reason why I wrote these out is because I think some companies are going to be planning for the future. They're going to be thinking about how things are going, and having a general conceptual idea of how they might go could help them in trying to make more informed decisions. We aren't guaranteeing these to be necessarily true, but I think it's well worth considering when you're making some of the choices for this year about what you're going to be doing and what you're not going to be doing. And I think it's just really smart for all companies to be thinking about this. And so when I wrote all those out, I was like, we should just do a podcast on this because people might find this valuable. So here we are.
I love it. Yeah, we can also show you that you guys are not alone with maybe having some of these fears going into this.
And we'd love to hear if you have some that you feel like I've missed. I'd love to hear them.
Oh, yeah. Put them in the comments so that we can see them and talk about them. So the first one that you talk about is a little bit more broad, but yet it does bring up some questions that are, in my opinion, very scary. Not all of these are like scary doomsday, but for this one, the majority of the Department of War or the Department of Defense contracts will have CMMC Level 2 requirements forcing companies to face the reality, walk away for the DIB, or fill it out as a lie. And that is very interesting because we know that it's going to happen. If not, it already is happening. And so do you want to talk about that a little bit more and what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a shocker. People have been in the industry and have been talking about this. They're like, well, tell us something we didn't know. This one you can definitely take to the bank. But, all right, so we've created, and God here, like we've had this conversation several times, like the last few weeks with clients. And they now have these requirements for self-assessment. So far, the only ones that we've had get hit were for self-assessments. Nobody has had third-party assessment requirements so far,
Mhm.
client-wise, that we've talked with yet that have stepped on that landmine yet.
Mhm.
So but I'm sure that's going to change because they
Mhm.
said they're going to have some that are going to do third party. And if it's a larger contract, a contract that's like, hundreds of millions of dollars, chances are there's going to be multiple subs. Guess what? That flows down to subs, to other subs. And so, you might be like, well, I'd really like to take that contract, but dang it, it had third party requirements on it. I could kind of fudge it if it's self-assessment, but because I have to get assessed and present my DoD certificate at time of award that I've already passed, I'm going to have
Yeah.
to pass on this contract. That's going to happen. There's going to be some heartbreaks there. Companies that have been planning for some larger contracts thinking they're going to be able to participate and have a feeling the DoDs might include those. But what I'm referring to is how many times have you been in an instruction class? Like I used to do jitsu for so many years and they would cover the same techniques. And every time that they would cover the same techniques, I would swear they're saying something different because I would pick up some nuances, better details of it.
Mhm.
But they're saying the same thing. Your brain just can't hear it. And so last year, most of the companies were not hearing what we were saying. Like me and Kaleigh had a slides that we went through with all of our clients. We said it's going to be included. You're not going to be able to bid. You're going to have to self-test. You're going to have to go through it. We had it all in the websites, and everyone that we've been talking to is like, "Oh, really? Man, did you guys we literally here's the slide like we were showing." They didn't. They were our clients, and they
They're
still
not
didn't hear
climbers.
us.
They're not fans of the podcast either.
Yeah, but I mean, they're clients of ours. Like we went through the presentation, we've explained it, but they still didn't hear it, and so. I know some of y'all that are probably listening to this are like, that's just stupid. I'm like, but that's reality.
It might be a little silly, but it's
Yeah.
real.
But there's going to be tons and tons and tons and tons of companies that would be like, don't be surprised when a lot of them are companies that you've already talked to and have told them that. And it's like, they didn't hear you,
Mhm.
but now they do. And what I find is culturally inside those companies now, there's been a shift because now upper management, other people that have been dragging their feet or hearts have changed about the perspectives of it. Now they're like, crap, like we're gonna have to, we'll talk about how some of the consequences of lying might go and some of the other predictions, but
Mhm.
they're going to have to basically fudge and go through and mark and say that they're there and just then try to hope that they can get there
Mhm.
by the end of this year. And then next year, when the third party requirements are going to kick in, that they can make it.
Yeah. Let's talk about that just really quick. If they didn't see our social media post on LinkedIn about this, I think that we should put a visual of showing what it's like when you're going in to put your Spurs score in or like what the difference is between doing it like a self
Yeah.
assessment.
Let's talk about that. So there are, and you go to SPRS, there's like two tabs. There's
Mm-hmm.
the 171 tab. That tab is for your yearly attestation that you have to do based on the DFARS requirements. So the 7019 and 7021 requirements that are going to be in your contracts. Those contracts are going to require you to go in yearly and attest to where you're at. Contracts now that we're already seeing have level 2 self-attestation requirements. And there's another tab in SPRS that you go to and you go through and you click on that and you then have to attest. You go through all 110 controls. I was really interested to see like how did they do this? So I went in and I looked and so maybe we can give some screenshots of that. But
Yeah.
you have to go in and you have to accept all 110 controls saying met,
Met.
not met, or not applicable, and then
Mm-hmm.
put some details about what it is. Then you kind of get your score calculated and you go ahead and do it. And then they'll get you a CMMC UID, so a unique identifier. That identifier number will be different than someone that had a third party. The beginning code, I think, is going to be somehow a little bit different. So at a glance, you can know whether or not it was a self-attestation or whether a third party done it. Obviously, the third party is going to be a whole heck of a lot more accurate. And that will probably be taken into account during the bidding process.
Mm-hmm.
But no one knows 100% for sure, but that
Yeah.
would be reasonable to assume.
Yeah. And so, like, I wanted you to mention that too, because if there are people that are listening to this that are like MSPs that have a have a client that's in this space that don't really work with that directly, that they know that their clients are having to go in and do this manually and check off these boxes that they're attesting to these things. So
Mhm.
please make sure you are aware of what your client is attesting to in those things, because some of them do very much fall on what the MSP what does. Look, he was raptured.
I just dropped my pencil. Sorry.
What I was saying was some of these requirements are going to have to deal with what the MSP is doing for their client, and you have to be very careful of what you're
Yeah, so they
attempting to.
they could be checking that they're doing it,
They're like, "We're
and
doing it," and it's like, "Well, our MSP is doing it." I'm
yeah,
sure.
like,
It's like,
um,
"Well, okay."
and when there's a warning box that comes up that says, "Hey, you are attesting
Mhm.
the person," and it gets your information, who's doing it, and you're under contract and oath, basically saying this is it. And maybe we can get into what the potential consequences of that now
Yeah, that's
in one
fine.
of
Yeah, if you want to.
those. So for those people that may not be aware, you have DCMA has a organization called DIBCAC. Can't remember exactly what DIBCAC stands for, but
No.
like defense based something.
We've looked this up multiple
Yeah, we've
times,
looked it
and
up
we
and I
don't
always
seem to
forget.
care, do
No,
we?
no, not really.
We've forgotten it multiple times. That's
Knowing
okay.
their name doesn't really help you when they show up at your door in 90 days,
Listen, if
right?
you want Jacob Horn, then go to Jacob Horn,
Right,
okay? We're
right.
not gonna
Go to that
remember
guy.
everything.
He's smarter than me anyway. So the way that it works is DCMA is going to pick at random, kind of like an RS audit, contracts they feel are important. And they will
Mhm,
then target those contracts. And then they will give you a notice in 90 days that they will show up and assess you based on their interpretation of how they look at the 171 alpha requirements. It will be different than a third party assessment. Some of the ways that it is different is they care about contractual flow downs. Your third party assessment doesn't give two flying flips about it. They're like,
mhm,
we just care about validating the environment you've got. That's it.
mhm,
But if you don't flow it down, DibCAC will catch you on that. They're going to be like, show us the contracts that you have, the relationships you have, the people downstream. Are you flowing it down? Because that's part of that DFARS requirement. So they care about the DFARS clauses more
mhm,
in the 171 requirements. So they're going to come at it at a little bit of a different angle than your third party assessment. But if they walk in your building and you have third party attested that you have already hit a perfect 110,
you self-attested.
you self attested that you've done it, and they can clearly tell that you have lied your butt off.
Mhm.
I don't think they're going to throw their head back and just laugh about it and think, man, that was a good one. Man, all right.
That's so funny.
Right. I don't know. It depends on how the Department of Defense or Department of War is going to handle this year. They may look at the self attestations and be like, we're going to make some examples of some people, but we're not going to go ham on this because we want to just kind of be the lion roaring in the woods. Everybody runs and they go to where they need to be all along, and this will just happen. But they're probably going to make some examples.
Yeah.
But over time, that assessment process is probably it's not going to require a person in your company to whistleblow on you. I think DCMA is going to start catching people, and I think they're going
Mhm,
to start getting popped by this because of the fact that they've given you so much rope to hang yourself.
mhm,
It's going to be really difficult for them to look away and go, because in the past, the way that it's done is when DCMA, DibCAC would show up, they would be like, hey, you're not doing this right, fix it. And they'd let you
mhm.
fix it. But now that you have not only the clauses and the contracts, but you've self-attested and you've lied your butt off about it, don't think that's going to go great. I
Yeah.
think they're gonna, if there's minor stuff, I'm sure they'll probably let it slide. But if you're just not even in the same continent, I don't see that going well.
Well, I think you're exactly right of, like, the way that they make this serious and they're truly implementing this, they have to make examples. They have to
Yeah.
make examples of companies, and you don't wanna be
You don't
the
want to be
one that
them.
is the example. You mentioned something in there that I think is another point that you brought up, so let's talk about that point, which is false claims. So could you explain to somebody that's not really aware of that, what that is and
Right.
how that could come into play with these attestations?
Yeah, so there's some specific kind of setups that have to happen for the false claims process to work in general. The government has to feel like that you have defrauded them. In other words, that you knew that the information that you're presenting to them uh, was inaccurate. Could they say, well, ignorance is not bliss, even though you might not have known. Could they still come after? Absolutely, they could still come after you. And I mean, it's the law, like whether you knew that you weren't supposed to do it. I've tried telling a police officer, I'm sorry, I thought he was okay. And he's going to be like, that's so
And
cute.
it
Here's your
didn't work.
ticket. I'll, see you in court, or just pay it online, whichever's easier. I don't care. And so ignorance is not bliss. So in that situation, they want to see that you have done some type of defrauding. You knew in advance, someone inside your company has been telling you, an MSP has been warning you about it. You did not listen to them. They can bring up documentation and prove that you knew it, and you just went in and did it anyway.
Mhm.
Now, where the whistleblower comes in is they have weaponized your staff. So imagine that person that has been telling you all along that CMMC really matters, and you've been blowing them off. You go in and you do the self-attestation because you need to win the bid because you didn't pay attention to them. So now you've really put yourself behind the 8 ball. You then go ahead and win the contract, and then you and that person in the company lose faith, and they don't like each other, and they part ways. And then they pick up the phone and they then call and report you to the authorities that you have been lying all along. There's a whistleblower line. You can go in and put an email, or you can call. That person will get a percentage of the findings. So if they fine you like $1 or $2 million, they'll get I think up to maybe 30% of the potential revenue from that fine. So you don't have to get run over by a steamroller and then have personal injury law to then get money. All you can do is just tell your company owners or direct reports, and they don't listen to you. Could be a significant payday for that
Yeah.
person, and they still can have jobs. They can still work. I mean, obviously, it's going to put a strain on you because you're going to have to sit in and testify and do different things. It doesn't be like they just send you a check and that's all. There's a lot of involvement you have to be on. It will control your life for a period of time if you do
Mhm.
blow the whistle. So don't think it's just a one and done and get your check. That's not how that
Yeah,
goes.
you just show up to your bank and it's just there.
Right.
Ta-da.
But there are law firms that are already starting to gear up to be. This is going to be a revenue stream for them, and it's only think of how personal injury has just taken over the law
Mhm.
industry. This is going to be, I think, in kind to that over the next 5 years. You're going to start seeing law firms that are going to start seeing, hey, we can make some good money talking to your staff because you guys aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. So think about that. So they're weaponizing your staff to call you out, to catch you on it.
Yeah.
And they'll already have the documentation because they probably took it when they left.
Yeah.
So that ain't great for you. So
Right.
just know that.
Yeah, and so, all of this to say that there's where it connects to the scariness of if people are self-attesting to things that are not fully true this year, where you could see this coming into play. Maybe not this year, but maybe when you self attest this year and then next year something, happens with like what you were saying, that person, and they decide to pick up that phone, that hotline. That's
There's a really good
not good.
podcast that Jacob Hill did.
Mm,
He interviewed, I think, the Penn State
yes,
whistleblower
whistleblower.
with the attorney that did it.
Yes,
Definitely check that out. It is
we
really good.
did.
And I think he did the Penn State one, and there was another one that I think he did. Georgia Tech,
Yeah,
was it? I'm not sure. I can't remember. If I was
yeah,
wrong about
he
Georgia
did do
Tech, I'm
another
sorry.
one.
I might have defamed your college. I apologize. But I'm pretty sure one of them was Penn State.
Yeah.
And I think that guy, hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s. I think it was something like $700,000 or $800,000 payday potentially he might have had on that. Now he went through hell, and I'm sure. I don't know if he'd say he would have liked to go through that and have the money too. He probably would
Mm,
have liked just to have his job still and then everything go the way they were and they
everything
listened
was
to him.
fine.
But I mean, everybody's different, but still,
Mhm.
there is significant incentive for these people to hold you accountable, your
Mhm.
staff. So if they're coming at you and you dismiss them offhand, that might not be a good idea.
Let's talk about something that we love to get asked a question about, which is, how long does this take? What's the time frame that CMMC is going to take? And how long until I can get CMMC compliant? I want to talk about how starting this year, those numbers are going to change, right?
I'm curious what you think. What's your opinion on that? We haven't really talked about it, but I want to see what you think.
From which perspective? From the
So
contractor's perspective or ours?
our perspective in building out a tenant for a
Mm-hmm.
client, because you're in those sales calls. So how do you think that's going to change? this year versus how it was last year?
So, in my opinion, there's going to be two things that occur. I think that one, we're getting better and better with every time. Like
Mm.
we're getting more efficient with our process. We're getting more efficient with building these tenants correctly and getting the documentation ready. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're judging us for saying we didn't have it perfect at first, hello, we just started doing this. Okay. I want to clarify that because I'm in sales calls where it is like the person that they've also been talking to, like, they've talked to a couple different MSPs, right? And they're bouncing around trying to see who can do their CMMC services. And this other MSP has done 24 have sent 24 clients through perfectly, and they can do it in 3 months. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This just started happening that
Right.
we could
And to
actually do
clarify
this.
what she's saying is we've just started because no one could have just like
Nobody could have. Yeah.
the soonest people could really truly start doing the assessments was January. So
Yeah.
we've only been working with clients officially moving them through the process in January. Now, we've been working with clients before that,
Yeah.
and a lot of other companies have, but it's different
Yeah.
when it's like it's the real deal. You're sitting the assessor.
All the requirements hadn't even come out
Right.
until recently.
Right.
So, like,
So
we didn't even know 100% how everything was gonna
I
go
was going to go
down,
until January, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, crazy to say.
It's just so unless you're Summit 7, because I think they've moved like 50 people through it,
Yeah,
not many companies have helped people through it.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
really great people I look up to have only moved like maybe 3 or 4.
yeah,
Not a lot of
yeah.
companies have they moved through from start to finish the process and got them level 2 certified. And Vince Scott, we had him come on. He was great. I could sit down and talk to that dude for like days. But he talked about something I thought was really interesting is that we're going to see how ill prepared the industry is.
Mhm,
And we saw a rush of people come through, and they had been kind of waiting at the starting gate, right? So
mhm.
those are the people that showed up the door waiting for the door open. But
Yep.
now you're waiting for the people to pull into the parking lot, get out of their car, lock their car, walk into the building, and then get into the process. But the problem is what Vince is kind of feeling is they're not even in the parking lot. They're like in the next
Yeah,
county, and they're
yeah.
sitting down on their couch going, I think I need to be at the store now. Like they're not there. And so there's this big gap between you have these people waiting, the doors open, they run in, and then you have this big gap between everybody else. And this is what this year is going to be about is them trying to close the gap as fast as
Mhm.
they can. And it's
Yeah.
just going to be chaos. And I think he's
Yes.
right about that.
Yeah, and so, like, what I was saying, like, for us is I feel like we have started to really streamline our
Hmm.
process and gotten that solid to where we can do it in a more efficient, like, even more efficient way than we have been doing it. But there's going to be more people coming from that parking lot, and we can't do, spoiler alert, we can't do 300, 500 companies at one time with
Right.
our business. And not many can. Like,
Right.
I don't even know how many Summit 7 could do at one time,
Right.
But they're probably the biggest ones that could go through at the most amount, the most amount of people at one time go through. And all of that to say, you're going to see the time then extend,
Hmm.
not necessarily because we've become inefficient, but because people are coming through that need this, and we can only do so many at one time.
So the queue
And
length is going to get longer for
queue length
people.
is gonna get
Right.
longer. So,
Totally agree.
yeah, and so then what you're saying comes into play as well as more implementers coming into the space, to take over this. But I mean, not to toot our own horn, but I feel like we have come up with a great process that has been able to help companies go from 0 to 110 pretty quickly. That was not easy, and that did
No.
not take a month for us to create as an implementer. So even these implementers that are coming in, there's still going to be that gap of them knowing how to be an implementer, because last time I checked, there was not something, on a website that was like how to become a perfect CMMC
Right.
implementer.
There's no peer
And
group for this that
no, there's
gives you all
not.
the answers to the
Yeah,
problems you
sorry,
have.
maybe we'll try to come up with that when we have free
Mhm.
time in like 5 years. But like
Right.
right now, there's
Well,
not
and I
really.
think that's such a good point, Kaylee, because you're going to have more companies, and I think that's one of the predictions we had, there's going to be more companies that are going to be implementers. They're going to be rushing into the industry to help participate. And
Mhm.
they're going to have to make a decision. They can either casually participate and just do a la carte engagements with these organizations. In other words, we'll meet you wherever you're at. We'll just do a gap assessment, work you through it, and we'll get you where you're at. That is great for them. The
Not great.
problem
Not
is
great
it
for you.
doesn't scale because every client will be its own multiverse at a
Yes.
high level of differentiation. Okay. And the controls require monitoring, reassessment, self assessment. So that means the people that are going to be involved in those are going to have to be high level, high thinking, high pay, very expensive people. They're going to have to keep track of each of these clients and understand exactly what's going on. And the
Mhm.
more of those you have, the more of these high paying resources you're going to have to keep track and make sure that these systems are being appropriately managed. And that just doesn't scale. Or you can do kind of what we've done is we've created a system that we can bring companies in. It's not going to be as flexible, but it now has, you can feel confident that we're not going to just die one day and be like, we can't do this whole CMMC thing anymore because it's just gotten too crazy. Like we've got our focus is to scale and support the clients continuously over the time
Mhm.
frame. Those companies are going to realize that when they step into space, that are going to try to become those implementers, and they're going to have to make a decision. They'll either just take a small bite and that's fine, great, or they're going to commit to the scale, and that's hard. Figuring out
Yeah.
to build a system that's going to handle scale when you haven't stepped in that space well is going to be tough. So it's going to create a lot of uncertainty in the industry as so many more companies are going to start stepping into space trying to participate, and it's
Yes.
going to be very much a buyer beware market for the next few years as that
Yes.
all sorts out.
Yes.
It's
And
going to be
yeah,
crazy.
that was something that I wanted to bring up that you said too in one of your points is just be very careful with this year. There's going to be a lot of implementers that see the dollar signs in this implementation process, that haven't really done the heavy lifting on the back end to prepare to actually take clients through this process. And so you just have to be very careful. Another thing that I do wanna mention that I don't think you have on here, but it just made me think of it, is be very careful if you are a contractor that is working with an MSP that has not well, one is not CMMC Level 2 certified themselves, but also has not brought to your attention their process on how they run you through CMMC. If you are going to just walk up to them one day and be like, "Hey, just making sure that we're Level 2 compliant," right? Like what you've been doing, like, please be careful because you need to make sure that the company that has your IT services right now knows what's going on
Right.
here and
If
knows.
they're gonna help you get to CMMC level 2, they need to be able to show you the start to finish document that shows you how they're gonna do it. Like,
Yes.
me all the all the documents that you're gonna use for me, show
They should
me.
know what a customer
They
responsibility
should know
matrix
they
is.
should be able to drop everything that you need in front of you, not be like,
Mhm.
"Well, we'll just coach you through the process. We have no documentation to present to you."
Yeah,
Then you're
if they're
just a
getting consulting from your
right,
consultant,
right.
be be careful.
They're just taking your money and
Yeah.
learning on your dime as they move
Yeah.
you through it. Don't let them do that to you.
Yes.
You want to get engaged with someone who's taken this responsibility very seriously and has tried to create a path for you to walk down, not
Yes.
use you to finance their journey of learning how to help walk you through it.
Yeah.
Because that's a very expensive way for them to learn on you and possibly learn that they don't want to do that halfway through through the walk. And then you're out money and you're out a person to
Yes.
help you.
And I've seen this occur, and I've also seen another thing occur, which is that the contractor has said nothing about any of these things that they're attesting to or saying that they're doing to the MSP, and the MSP is just being an MSP, like how they normally are, and they just didn't realize that the contractor clients that they have are unicorns that are different than their commercial clients that
Right.
need more attention because the MSP universe is ill prepared for this.
Right.
And so they're walking around like a normal MSP and they're doing a great job with your MSP services, but they don't know that you need this side. It's your kind of your fault for not saying, as the client that needs these things, hey, by the way, I need this stuff. I need to be CMMC Level 2 certified. And when you turn around to that MSP, please know that many are going to say, we don't want to deal with that
Right.
and we don't want to help you. But not because they're awful and they're terrible. This is freaking hard to do as an MSP, and they don't want to deal with that because they have other companies that they're dealing with, right? And so I fear that there's going to be a lot of contractor companies during this year that are going to turn to their MSP thinking that they're going to be able to walk through this with them. And their MSP is going to say, no, I'm not going to do this with you. And
Right.
then they're going to have to now start from
From
ground
scratch.
zero. And so not only do they not have an MSP that can just do their IT services, but they also need to get CMMC Level 2 certified.
It's a bad
Do you know
day.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
And
both.
and now you're gonna come into the back of the queue with other
Yeah.
people that are probably in the same boat as you, and you're gonna
Yeah.
hope that you're gonna have it done. And this is the queue length that Kayleigh's talking about that could come back and really bite you.
I feel like we covered everything on the list, but I just wanted to see if did this
Well,
spark
one of
any
the things that we,
inspiration
we
to
didn't
you?
talk about is cost. I think you're gonna see a
No, people don't care
substantial.
about that. No.
Well, so let's just throw some real numbers that we've seen. So in general, most third-party assessments are running about 50K
Mhm.
in general. I mean, it's plus or minus based on size, very different things. You have multiple locations you have to visit,
Sure,
whatever.
yeah.
But in general, if you kind of think 50K, that's a pretty good reasonable assumption. I think it is reasonable to assume it could potentially double this year as resource contention kicks up. So third-party assessment organizations aren't going to have the bandwidth that you're used to being able to have. So just know that you need to go ahead and put your hand on as many of those dots you feel like you need to for the twister game of CMMC for this year. So if you've not reached out to C3PO and at least had a conversation with them to say, hey, can I at least get a commitment that I'm going to have a relationship with you? I can't necessarily schedule it right now, but can I give you a deposit down to kind of reserve my space? Those are all wise conversations. You can even negotiate the price now
Mhm.
before the increase is going to
Mhm.
happen. I mean, we did the same thing for our assessment. When we went to go through to do ours before the 32 CFR had dropped to allow assessments to happen,
Yeah.
a lot of organizations were, which is going to be surprising to people to hear this, a lot of times people were getting third-party assessments for as low as 20K. That was very common because the ecosystem was starting off and C3POs were desperate. It's like back in the day when the housing market, like all of the builders were like, we'll throw in washers and dryers, no CDD fees or HOA. Just come and buy our house, please, for the love of God, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were throwing everything at you.
Mhm.
That's sort of how C3POs were back then as it was taken off. They had invested the money and the time, and then you had the stall that sort of happened when they reevaluated and they went from CMMC 1.0 to 2.0, and that really threw some of those C3POs for a loop, and they were
Yeah.
given a lot of discounts on prices. So people were getting third-party assessments that were evaluations, and in quotes, and some people were putting down, and what we did is we locked in our price
Mhm.
went before it happened.
Yeah.
And then everybody got surprised that there was going to have to be 3 CCAs involved instead of 1, which everybody was thinking that's how it's going to be, which drove the cost up. And then the price of assessments went up quite a bit. So, and I think it's reasonable to assume because of the tier 3 requirements that are slowing more people participating in the industry,
Right.
it's going to create resource contentions for third-party assessments. I think also the infrastructure people are going to get overrun. So we're going to get overrun. Other people like Tom Conkle, love that dude. Him and
Kelly.
Kaleigh are just such great people. There are other people, Scott, DefCert
Mhm.
people out there. There's a lot of like really great consultants that, those people I mentioned, take them to bank. If you go to talk to them, they know their stuff and they'll help you move through it. Linda, she's
Oh,
awesome. Yeah,
yes.
great. Knows her stuff. Those are
Mhm.
great people to talk, but they only have a certain amount of bandwidth.
Yeah.
So if you don't start getting those relationships with them now, you're going to just get a busy signal when you reach out to them, and they're
Yeah.
just not going to have the time, or you're going to have to pay twice. Supply and demand. It's not rocket science. We've seen that. I mean, you can see that in Pokemon trading with middle schoolers, right? I mean, that all works out however you do it.
Mhm.
It's just physics, it's economics at heart there about how it plays out. So know that is going to happen. So this year, if you need to be reaching out to the people and you start saying, hey, just let you know. And you need to start thinking about if you as your organization is going to have to ramp up, you're an implementer, just know that it's probably going to be more expensive for your people to keep. So that's going to drive your prices as well, right? Because
Yeah.
if there's only a certain amount of those resources and you have some of them,
They become expensive
they
resources.
become expensive. Exactly.
Yeah.
So those things happen because if they start to expand and they go to hire more people, then the only people that are left are the people you have to kind of poach from other people. That price drives it. You can kind of see how that starts to go. So it's going to start becoming, very competitive in that area, and you're going to see probably prices double.
Yeah.
And so it's going to get really, really, really expensive as that market stalls, because a big part of it is that tier 3 is not allowing more a flow of professional certified people to come into the space. And that is going to be one of the low key, very big impacts to this industry over the next 2 years that will
Yeah.
negatively, in fact, impact the growth of that ecosystem. Is that tier
Wow.
3 background check? Because it's run in 8 months. So somebody decides they want to get their tier 3. I mean, it's like, if you don't start getting it now, if you don't sign up now, you might not even get your tier 3 so you could take your CCP by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's
You know what I
crazy.
mean? But yeah, it's nuts. We're in January. Like I went ahead and I did mine in I think it was January or February. It might even been December. And I
I
didn't
think
get
it
mine
was
till
September.
September.
Yeah.
I didn't get it back completed until September.
Yeah, you did it right after CS5 or not CS5. It was when it was called Seekeast,
Right. Yeah. So that
SEs.
was November timeframe. So November, December. So I didn't get it back until September. I've heard other people get it faster, and I've heard other people get it as slow as
They
mine.
just didn't like you,
They hated
but
me.
they might like other people more.
Funny thing is, they didn't talk to anybody at all. They didn't call
Yeah.
me in. They just took my fingerprints. They sent one person like a background information they filled out, sent, and that was it. Nobody else
I was
got
prepared
contacted.
to say trash about you when they
Yeah,
called
they
me.
were going to call you, but
They were
like,
gonna call me, and I was gonna be like, "Gosh,
aren't
can't
you on this
stand that guy."
podcast? You guys talk a lot of crap. But no, nobody. It was really weird. I was expecting to have to go downtown. Nope.
Yeah, but they don't I don't think they're gonna care necessarily to make it go faster this year. I do hope that they, speed through these tier 3 background checks and actually get back to people. But I don't know if it's gonna necessarily change all
Yeah.
that much. So,
So yeah,
yeah, well, guys, if you have some things that we didn't mention that you think are very important, please, like Bobby said at the beginning of this episode, please put them in the comments or send it to us because we'd love to hear. But I do want to end on a note with saying these are growing pains. These are things that are
right.
going to happen. They had to happen eventually until we can level it all out and make it work and function correctly. But it's necessary because cybersecurity is so scary. And the threats are becoming increasingly more scary and more serious, and we want to protect our country. And so
Right.
it needs to happen. And these are growing pains because of it. And so please know that all of these things that we said were not things of like, why is CMMC happening? I can't believe this is going on. We are for this and it needs to happen, but just be aware that these are the growing pains. These are the things that are going to be happening because of it. Prepare your company properly or as much as you can. And go into it with, the right mindset, hopefully.
Right.
And so that's our goal with these things and bringing them up to you, and bringing them up to you all. But again, if you have any other things that we didn't mention, please make sure we're not claiming CMMC Jesus. So please make sure to send it to us. And we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned. We're going back to every Thursday. We're going to be posting again. We took a little bit of a break for the holidays and we did every other Thursday, but now we'll be back at it and better than ever. So stay tuned next Thursday for another episode. But until then, guys, as always, keep on climbing. See ya.
Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube to stay up to date on the latest CMMC news. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode and listen out for the next one. But until then, keep on climbing.